September 11th is a very important day to most of us in the fire service, but it's also a very important day to myself as well as my family. My wife and I had been going back at it about a month and a half, and she was arguing and I was arguing, and it was all over a little spot she noticed on my back. And each day she would start a new argument. Each day it was, honey, have you seen that? Honey, do you notice that? Honey, does it hurt? Does it itch? Every single day. And every single day I would tell her, it's no big deal. It's nothing. It's probably just an age spot, right? I am 30 now. Well, after about 30 days, I finally decided to cave in. I told her, I said, look, if you want me to go to a doctor, I will. But the fact is, I don't have a doctor. My doctor is my annual physical with the fire department. I said, if you want me to go, you're going to have to find him. You're going to have to make an appointment. By the way, make sure you don't do it on a duty day, because if you do, I won't go. Well, on September 11th, I came to Dr. Holsinger's office for the very first time. We didn't have any history, never met before. And as we're walking down the hallway to the exam room, I'm explaining to him, my wife, and she's concerned, but it's really no big deal. She's a nurse. She thinks she knows it all. We get a chuckle out of that. As we enter the room, Dr. Holsinger says, go ahead and remove your shirt and turn around. Let's take a peek. Well, as I removed my shirt and I turned around, it wasn't a matter of 10 seconds, Dr. Holsinger politely excused himself from the room. That's no exaggeration. As I'm standing in this room, I begin to pace back and forth, and I'm thinking in my head, what did I just show him? What did I just do? What's happening? And as he entered in the room, after about 10 minutes, he just politely handed me a card. And the card said, The Ohio State University, James Cancer Institute, Dr. Carrie Kendra. And I said, Doc, what's going on? He said, you have melanoma. I said, well, how bad is it? He said, I don't know. I said, but it's serious. He said, it's very serious. I said, so what's next? Blood work, scans, do I call these people? Do I make an appointment? What do I do? He said, I just got off the phone with them. They're waiting for you. You leave right now. Well, as you can imagine, I'm making every phone call possible. I'm calling my wife. I'm telling her, you're right, I was wrong. You need to meet me here. This is what's going on. And as we arrived at the James that day, it was multiple doctors, multiple tests, all of them trying to figure out how bad is the cancer and has it spread. Well, within 2 weeks, I was in my first major surgery. And it wasn't just one spot, it was actually 4 spots. 4 spots, all the size of a tip of a pin. I wouldn't even have recognized them. But during surgery, they took 4 large chunks out of my back. And the deeper they would go, the more they were finding cancer. And the doctors kept going deeper and deeper until eventually they decided the cancer is probably already spread. So now they went underneath my right arm and they started taking biopsies of the lymph nodes. Surgery is about 2.5 hours. And when they were done, they went out and they found my father and my wife in the waiting area, and they explained to my wife, what the process was, what they had to do. They had to send off some more biopsies, but that she was going to be able to take me home, let me recover at home, and they'd give us a call in about a week. Well, about a week had gone by, and I'm obviously at home, resting, trying to recover, and the phone rings. And it didn't matter how many different ways I asked my doctor, it didn't matter how slick I was, no tricks were going to get the information out of her. The only thing she would say over and over was, Mark, I need to see you in my office. Mark, you need to come see me. So as we drove into the James that day, my wife, obviously very emotional. She's a nurse, I'm a paramedic. We know what that means. It's not going to be good news. I recall sitting across from her desk, and she just looked at me and she said, we failed. We've got to do this all over again. 2 more weeks go by, I'm in my second major surgery. This time they went underneath my right arm and they took the entire lymph node. Now your lymph nodes are quite small, but the process in which it is to go get them is quite large. I had lost use of my right arm for a solid month. I had multiple drains hanging out of me. Every single day was a doctor's appointment. Every single day was testing. Every single day was poking and prodding. Every single day was conversation about cancer. The last thing I wanted to talk about. Every single day I only had one question. What do I have to do to get back to the firehouse? So after multiple months of pushing myself to recover, to PT, to get strong again, I was able to talk my doctor and my house captain into letting me come back to work. You see, at work, I wasn't Mark with cancer. I was just Mark the fireman, just taking runs, doing my job. Life was normal. At home, I was sick daddy. I was sick husband. Everything revolved around the cancer. If I fell asleep on the couch, I had little kids beside me checking to make sure I was breathing. If I went to the bathroom, there were little kids outside the door asking me if I was okay. If something needed to be done, I had my wife pushing me out of the way because she didn't want me to lift it. Every day was a constant reminder that I had cancer. Well, after returning to work, it wasn't very long, I quickly realized I wasn't able to do it anymore. You see, going back to work wasn't so simple. One of the things I couldn't get away from was chemotherapy. The doctors were willing to let me go, but they were not willing to let me skip out on my treatment. So as I was back at work, every single day, I would have to go through my regimen. And every other day, I'd have to inject myself with chemotherapy so I could continue to battle this cancer. Well, after 3 months, I ended up back in the hospital for 9 days. I had to do emergency surgery to get my gallbladder removed. It was so infected between the cancer and the treatments, it was 3 times the normal size. And it was while I was in the hospital, I'd lost use of my left leg. It was kind of a good fortune thing to be in the hospital that day. Doctors couldn't figure out what a gallbladder had to do with my left leg, but after more scans and more testing, we quickly realized it wasn't the gallbladder. The cancer that we thought we had defeated with the second surgery was now back, better than ever. A tumor had formed at the base of my spine, and that tumor had grown around the nerves that control my left leg. And during that 3 months back out on the streets, I had agitated it to the point it had closed off connectivity. I could feel my leg, I just couldn't use it. Luckily for me, I have regained some mobility in that leg, but I'm here to tell you, it'll never be the same, and I'll never be back on a truck. Over the past few years, we've really seen the change in the fire service as a result of cancer, and you can tell by the amount of funerals that we're attending. You know, for a long time, we've always used that term, not our father's fire department. Well, that term rings truer and truer each day. A lot of guys will drive around your neighborhoods and you'll go into your burning districts and you'll look at the houses and they look like they did back when you started or back when your dad or your uncle or your grandpa worked on the fire department. The difference is the structure's not the same. It looks the same, it's got a lot of the same materials in it, but really those materials have been changed. They've been synthetically based. They've been soaked in chemicals that you have no idea what they're about. If you get a chance, you need to look up Toxic Hot Seat. It's a documentary you can find online that will explain all these chemicals and how we've changed construction in America. We're really fortunate to have a documentary like that because it really breaks down what a firefighter faces on a regular basis. Even though everything looks the same, when this material burns, our atmosphere completely changes. So you guys have to understand that our office is not like a normal office. Our office is a burning inferno, usually between the temperature of 1,300 to 1,600 degrees on average. When we go inside, everything that is safe to be around is no longer safe, and that has a great effect on us. During the history of the fire service, we have seen others try to make an impact as a result of cancer. We know that cancer was first recognized in 1982 in the United States. Cancer presumption law was then created. So we were recognizing this over 30 years ago, and we were taking steps to make sure that firemen were taken care of. The problem with that is it's lost its speed. Multiple states do have it, but it's harder and harder to be able to utilize as firefighters. Our attempt now is not to just have it, but to make sure that we're preventing these cancers, to make sure we're staying ahead of these cancers. Most cancers don't even have actual cures. Most cancers don't come with a treatment plan most people even want to go through. So why even start? The best thing you can do is start protecting yourself now so you never have to experience it. Over the last 10 years, we have seen cancers triple in the fire service. That's right, triple. Our biggest fear used to be cardiac, and we fixed that. We fixed it through change. We fixed it through the way we function on a fire ground. We fixed it with our equipment. Cancer is no different. We have to make small changes. So what really occurred and how did this happen? Well, as we know, in the late 90s and early 2000s, most of our districts went through the building boom. We saw these houses start popping up. We saw these little neighborhoods that were able to pop up from a foundation to a move-in ready house in 110 days. Well, ask yourself, how does that happen? How do you start building a house and 110 days later your family is living there? It just doesn't work that way. That is your first trigger, your first red flag that these homes are not made from base material. They're not the natural materials we used to use. Back in the 80s and the 70s, it would take up to 30 minutes for a room to become fully involved. And now today in 2016, with today's materials, it takes a little over 3 minutes. These are the chemicals that we are burning. In my home department, we see this impact. Currently in the Columbus, Ohio Fire Department, we have 1 out of every 12 members fighting cancer. Ask yourself right now, look around. How many of your members are battling cancer? How many of your guys have gone through this? Well, there's a perfect example and there's a perfect explanation as to why. When we started thinking about the chemicals that I've discussed and the building materials and all that, you're probably asking yourself now, well, what is it? What chemicals are they using? Well, we had a most wanted list created. Thousands of chemicals were on top of this most wanted list. But we wanted to make sure that we could put together the ones you guys will see the most often, ones we're guaranteeing you are at the scene when you arrive. Number 1 is benzene. Number 2 is formaldehyde. Number 3 is soot. Number 4 is diesel exhaust fumes. And number 5 is not going to surprise you. But number 5 on our most wanted list is you the firefighter. There's a very good reason for this. You're in control of the situation. It may not seem like it, but you absolutely are. If you commit to change, if you commit to implementing new ways of going about your job, not big things, but little things, you have control over these chemicals. You have control over cancer, but you have to commit to change. And until you do, firefighters are going to stay number 5 on our most wanted list. Now, a little background on these chemicals. As I mentioned earlier, benzene is our number 1 most wanted list. Reason being is it is a top 20 most used chemical in the United States of America. Now, it's pretty impressive when you consider that they know for a fact it is a group 1 carcinogen. That's right, the government knows it is a cancer-causing agent and it will cause cancer, yet it is a top 20 most used chemical. The International Agency of Research on Cancer, they do smoke studies yearly, and they tell us that benzene is the 2nd most found chemical in all fire smoke studies. Guys, it's real simple. When you roll up on the scene, if you have smoke in your environment, benzene is in your environment and it will cause cancer. Let me tell you how widely spread benzene is, how common it is in the fire service. Everybody in the fire service is very, very fond of their Nomex. Nomex keeps us safe, helps us do our job. It allows us to go home. But the 2 chemicals that it takes to make Nomex are both direct derivatives of benzene. The same chemical that is claiming firefighter lives every year is the same chemical we're using to keep ourselves safe. Now understand this for a final point on benzene. It's invisible and it's odorless. You're not going to go on the World Wide Web and find a little beep beep monitor that's going to go off every time you're in the environment with benzene. It's not going to happen. If there's smoke in your environment, there's benzene in your environment. The second product that we're most aware of is formaldehyde. Now, maybe some of you have heard about formaldehyde. Maybe some of you are even educated upon it. But understand this. It's used in the process of making almost all plastics. And guys, I hate to break it to you, but that's America. Cheaper, faster, now. That's what we do. Everything is synthetic based. It's all got a plastic base to it, and you're going to find formaldehyde. Most of us carry around monitors that go off when we're around CO or cyanide. Very deadly. Firemen are made very aware of these things. Formaldehyde is more deadly than both of those combined. And the other thing is where formaldehyde goes, so does benzene. They're 2 counterparts. They work well together. Once again, odorless and invisible. If there's smoke in your environment, be aware. The third thing on our list is soot. Guys, I'm not going to kid you. Soot's a part of the fire service. When we first got started, we couldn't wait to roll around in the soot. We couldn't wait to have it on our gear. We loved walking away from the fire and it's all over our nose, on our hands, on our faces. We thought that was it. We're doing the job. Anybody that looks at us says, that guy, he's done it. He's been there. But I'm here to tell you, soot is claiming firefighters' lives. That doesn't mean that we're going to change the way we fight fire. That doesn't mean that we're going to not go inside anymore. That's not what we're here for. And that's not what I'm going to ask you to do. I will never ask you to change the way you fight fire. I'm going to ask you to be more aware of what you're doing once the fire's out. And soot is something you really need to be aware of. It is a group 1 carcinogen, okay? And for years, we were worried about breathing it. Once again, we fixed that. We now know that soot's number 1 way into your body is absorption through your skin. That's how you're being affected. It's making it through your gear and through your skin and taking a toll on your body. One of the greatest unknowns in the fire service is the 4th thing on our list, and that's diesel exhaust fumes. There are many studies out there that are trying to find the links. What are the causes? How are men being affected? Well, guys, I hate to break it to you. It's the world of the unknown. Each firehouse is different. Each department is different. It's very simple. Not every firehouse takes the same amount of runs. Not every firehouse runs the same exact engine. Not every firehouse trains the way other firehouses train. Not every firehouse has the same exhaust system. All these things come into play when we're talking about diesel exhaust fumes. All those change the way diesel exhaust fumes have an effect on you. But I will tell you this, you're not just breathing it, it's not just being absorbed through your skin, but you're also ingesting it. Many of these studies have found that it makes its way into our refrigerators, into the food we're eating, and we're actually ingesting it. Diesel exhaust fumes is a group 1 carcinogen as of 2012. You need to be aware. Now, as we discuss these chemicals, just the few that we did, maybe you're asking yourself, why I take all the precautions. I always wear my gear. I always have my SCBA. One of the most important things you need to realize is that's great, but it's not where it's done. Most of these chemicals are all absorbed through the skin. And what we now know is for every 5 degrees of body temperature rise, your skin absorption rate goes up 400%. That's right, 400%. Now imagine what your body temperature is when you're inside of a burning inferno at 1,300 degrees to 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Guys, we know what it's like wearing full gear doing the job. That 5 degrees easily starts creeping up to 6, 7, 8, and that 400% easily starts creeping up to 5, 600, 700% absorption rate. That's how we're being affected. One of the other big problems that we have against these chemicals is ourselves. Premature removal of PPE. We don't take this seriously enough, guys. We'll show up on the scene, we'll go inside, we'll do our job. Then we'll pull out, maybe doff a bottle, grab a bottle of water, get a quick refreshment. Officer walks up to you and says, hey, get back inside, let's do some overhaul so we can get out of here. It's a pretty standard conversation, right? Well, what do? Maybe we walk back inside wearing our bunker gear. Maybe not. 9 times out of 10, if it's a hot day, we're going to walk inside just wearing our bunker pants with our helmet and hood on. And our hood's just dangling around our neck. All the while, we're still inside, the ceiling's still putting off a little bit of smoke, the floor's still smoldering, and we're sitting here absorbing all these chemicals that are still in the air while our pores are wide open. It sometimes even gets to the point where you're breathing in the stuff and you start choking yourself out. So you're going to pull your hood up over your nose like that works. Guys, I hate to break it to you, that doesn't work. Nor does it work that you're inside not wearing an SCBA and not wearing all your gear. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, we do it to ourselves. I know overhaul is hard when you're wearing a bottle. I know overhaul gets really hot. Nobody enjoys it. But guess what? I don't enjoy chemotherapy. I don't enjoy multiple surgeries. I don't enjoy watching my family cry because they're worried what day's my last. There's some things that you need to do. Some things I wish I could do. That's why I'm here right now talking to you about this. One of the other things that we need to start worrying about is our trucks. We take great pride in our trucks, but most of the time it's on the outside. What about the inside of that truck? Are you cleaning that truck after every run, after every exposure to smoke? Well, you should be. I call it making your truck buddy clean. Think about it. That's not just your truck, but it's the other unit's truck too. And tomorrow morning when you get off work, that's the next guy's turn. And he's going to jump in that same seat you were sitting in. He's going to attach his mask to the same bottle you were attaching your mask to. And he's going to be exposed to all the things you were exposed to the day before. Guys, it's real simple. You can go to any department store you want in America and you can find those great disinfectant wipes. They're cheap and they're easy. Wipe off the seats, wipe off the bottle, wipe off the regular, wipe off the hosing. Make the interior of that truck clean. Take pride in knowing that you're going to transfer that truck to the next guy, and he's not going to start his day out at 0800 hours with an exposure report. That's something else you need to be taking pride in. One of the biggest things that we're trying to make a change in the state of Ohio is personal hygiene. And this one's very, very important. After every run where you were exposed to smoke and you were active on the scene of a fire, when you are done, you and your crew, it's not a suggestion, you need to get back to your station and perform what we call a personal decon. These personal decons have been done overseas for over 20 years. These countries had the same cancer rates we do here in the state of Ohio, 2.5 times higher rate of getting cancer. And after 20 years of change, little habits, personal decon showers, they've seen their cancer rates fall to almost 0. That is the same result we're fighting for here in the state of Ohio. So you're asking yourself, what's a personal decon shower? Very simple. It is a 5 to 10 minute shower of uncomfortably warm water. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You turn the heat up just to where you can barely stand underneath the water, and you soak yourself. And you allow the body's natural reaction to take place. The pores are going to reopen. The carcinogens that your body absorbed, they were only absorbed to about a depth of an inch, inch and a half. You're able to expel those. The body's going to begin to sweat again and perspire, and you're simply going to wipe them away. Now, our suggestion is when you wash with this personal decon showers that you use a soap that is low in moisturizer and that is washed away clean. You don't want anything that's got the clingy stuff on the end, okay? The lotions, the smells, the perfumes. We don't want soaps like that. You want that good old stuff the department's been buying for 20 years that costs 25 cents a bar. For years we thought they were cheap, and all we knew is they were actually using the good stuff, the stuff we should be using. But that's what you want to wash with. Get the stuff off your body. It's very quick, very simple, very easy. There's a good reason is why we preach that one so hard, and the reason why we push that so hard. You see, the number one cause of cancer in the fire service is multiple exposures after the fire is out. That's right, after the fire is out. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to talk to you about the way you fight fire. Guys, the way we fight fire here, it's good. It's proven. It's what we do. We're well trained. We save lives, we save structures, we take care of each other. The problem is when we leave the fire scene, we're forgetting about ourselves. And that's where this is very important. We got to make sure that we're not only leaving the fire scene safe, but we're going home to our families even safer. Let alone, we don't want to take anything home that we could possibly expose our families to. There's a list of many cancers that you guys will be seeing along with this video. And I want to hit on a few of these. As you look at these cancers, you'll notice that number 1 is testicular cancer. Now be aware of this. That is not just because we are a male-dominated career field. That's not it. I'll explain why it's number 1 later. But guys, 2.5 times greater risk of testicular cancer now. This isn't something we want to go about. This isn't something you want to do. It's not doctor visits you want to have. And as you look at these lists of cancers, look at the risk. 53% higher, 58% higher, 39% higher, and so on and so forth. And as you get down to the bottom list, you'll notice breast cancer. And I'm not just talking to the women who may be seeing this video, I'm talking to male firefighters. That study that was done in San Francisco was spurred on because of the high rate of breast cancer found in male firemen. That's right, men do get breast cancer, and when they do, it's usually very severe. 6 times greater risk. You need to take this list seriously. And as most of you look at this list, I'm sure a lot of you can think of fallen brothers and sisters who've already lost their battle. There won't be change unless you commit to it. And if you won't do it for yourself, do it for them. You'll see another slide inside this video presentation that will explain our skin absorption rates. As we talked about that, for every 5 degrees of change, 400%. Well, as you're watching this video and you're relaxed and you're probably sitting in a controlled environment, you have to understand there's body parts that are already having higher absorption rates. Number 1 is your groin. That is your explanation as why testicular cancer is number 1. As you're sitting there relaxed, your groin has a 300% higher absorption rate than anywhere else on your body. Guys, you start combining that with the 400% for the temperature change, that area is soaking it up at rates we never imagined before. This is why this class is so important. It's the little things we didn't know about. It's the little things that we can control. It's the little things that have huge results. Now, as I talk to most classes, I do start getting picky on the things that I see on a daily basis. And 3 of the things that drive me crazy are helmets, hoods, and masks. Guys, they're the 3 easiest things we can take care of, and yet they're the 3 things that we ignore the most. For years, we used to think that a burned up helmet was a badge of honor. And that was our way of walking around and showing our abilities, and guys didn't have to ask us how many fires we've been in, they could see it. Well, we now know that a charred helmet is nothing more than a cancer-carrying agent, and we can't do that anymore. As we discussed earlier, testicular cancer is the #1 cancer affecting the fire service, but there's a really good reason for that. And as I mentioned, it's not just because we're a male-dominated career field. As you're sitting here right now in a controlled environment watching this video, your groinal region has a 300% higher absorption rate than anywhere else on your body. That's under normal temperature. Now you start adding that 300% on with the 400% for every 5 degrees of temperature change. Guys, that's absorption rates we never imagined before, never knew about before. But that's why testicular cancer is #1. Now there's 3 items that I really pick on when we start talking in this class about cleaning your gear, taking care of yourself. Simple changes with huge effects, remember that? Helmet, hood, and mask. 3 of the things that you wear every single day, 3 of the things that you try to take care of, 3 of the things you take great pride in. But there are 3 of the things that get forgotten about the most when we start talking about taking care of our PPE. Guys, for years, our helmets, the more charred they were, the more burn up they were, the more pride we took in it. And what we're now finding out is that char, that burn, is just a cancer-causing agent that's taking firefighters' lives. Over a year ago, I met a fireman who sat through my class, and afterwards he came up to me and he said, "I've had 12 cancerous spots removed from my forehead." He said, "I had no idea why. My doctor couldn't figure it out." He goes, "But every few months a new one popped up, had to have it cut off." He goes, "I now know why I have these cancer issues on my forehead. 19 years in the fire service, never one time cleaned my fire helmet." Guys, do you remember the disinfectant wipes that you're going to use to clean out the inside of the fire truck? Those same disinfectant wipes in 30 seconds of your time can stop you from getting cancer from your fire helmet. Clean it out. Your mask, it's suction cupped to your face. How often are you cleaning it? And I'm not talking about cleaning it just so you can see through it. I'm talking about disinfecting it. After the groinal region, we start talking jaw angle, forehead, scalp. Those are your next 3 highest absorption areas on your body. Guys, that's helmet, hood, and mask. Hoods are a one-time use item. That's right, I said it. One-time use item. That doesn't mean you wear it and throw it away. That means you wear it, and once it's exposed, it goes into the dirty bin, and you don't use it again until it's been properly washed and dried. You guys need to start this cycling with the helmets and the hoods and the masks. You don't wear them until they're clean. You don't use them again until they've been properly gone through and thoroughly cleaned, guys. Not just, yeah, I sprayed it off, it's good to go. Clean your gear. It will mean the difference between a long career and a short career with a battle of cancer. That's the difference I'm trying to get across to you. Those 3 items play a very pivotal role in your opportunity to have a long career in the fire service. And they're the 3 things that you are in complete control of. Take the time, guys. As we come to the changes that I'm going to be asking all of you to make, change is hard, especially when we're dealing with the fire service. Remember, I am one of you. I've been there. I wore the uniform. I went to the fires. I worked with my family at my station. I understand what change means. We don't like change. Most of us can walk in the firehouse blindfolded and go through our normal routine. That's just who we are. But I'm here to tell you that if we don't change, we are going to continue to bury our brothers and sisters. And as you go to these fires and you think about all these things I'm talking about, I want you to remember the ones that are left at home worried about us. They're not just worried about whether or not we're going to come home, whether or not we're going to escape the next working fire. Now they're worried about what we're exposing ourselves to and what's going to happen later down the line. When you start thinking about your wife and your family, start thinking about all the milestones you want to reach. Start thinking about walking your daughters down the aisle. Start thinking about the retirement plans you've made with your spouse. Think about fishing with your sons, teaching them how to drive, holding your grandchildren. Guys, all the things I just mentioned, chances are I'm not going to get to experience. You have an opportunity today to make a difference, not in just your life, but in the lives around you. As you guys know, in the fire service, we're big on leading others. We're big on setting examples. We're big on making sure that the generation behind us is better than the generation before us. That's your opportunity today. There are 12 steps that we have guaranteed that will make your department a safer department. 12 easy things that you can implement right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not at next month's training practice schedule or training regiment, but right now. And these are the 12 steps that you guys need to implement. It's up to you, officers, to hold the men accountable. And it's up to you, chiefs, to hold your officers accountable. As you guys will see, the 12 steps to a safer department are very simple, and they're actually just a review of a lot of things we discussed. But understand this, these aren't just simple suggestions. Guys, from one firefighter to another, these are the things that are saving firefighters' lives. Once again, simple changes, huge effects. Number one on the list is by far the most important, and yet, as usual, the most argued. SCBAs will be warned from initial attack to final overhaul. No exceptions. We're taking the decision out of your hands. Guys, these are the most important pieces of equipment that you have that are protecting you. They're going to take care of your lungs, they're going to take care of your body, and we know for a fact that if you're wearing your SCBA, you're also wearing all your other gear. Remember, your gear is not a filtration unit, but it does stop some of the carcinogens from getting in. Wear your gear. The second thing is a very simple action. We call it the gross field decon. When you're done and you've loaded up your truck, you're going to walk over to whatever side you usually get in the truck on, and you're going to doff your gear, and you're simply going to shake it off. You guys know how it is. You got burned up insulation, burned up drywall, charred wood, clinging to your gear. Leave the stuff at the scene. The last thing we want to do is put it in the truck and then take it back to the station with us. Very simple exercise, 30 seconds to a minute. The number 3 thing on your list is baby wipes or wet naps, your choice. The American Academy of Dermatology states that this one here will save your life. Get the stuff off your skin. We don't really promote a brand, we don't care what you're using, but what we are asking you to do is not just carry them on the truck, but actually implement the use of them. Multiple stations are already doing this. They're carrying them on their trucks, but yet guys seem to forget to use them. Break these things out and get the soot, get the carcinogens, get those chemicals off your skin before it's able to absorb them. This is your first line of defense before your personal decon shower. Very simple action, very easy, financially not a big cost to any department. As you'll see, number 4 on this point is a very simple common sense rule, having a change of clothes at the firehouse. Guys, it's very important that you always, always, always have a backup set of blues with you at all times. That way, you know when you're taking that personal decon shower, you are going to be putting on clean clothes. You have to remember and understand that the clothes you're wearing underneath your turnout gear are just as affected as your skin and your turnout gear. They're not safe to put back on after the shower, okay? All the way down from underwear to socks, brand full new uniform, you need to have one with you at all times, which will lead you into the 5th point, taking that personal decon shower. I can't stress to you how important this shower is. 5 to 10 minutes, uncomfortably warm. Very simple, very easy, but it could possibly save your life. And we know that it works. We have the proof and we've seen it done. As you move on to number 6, and we've really discussed number 6 thoroughly, but I want to make this point. Your PPE is extremely important to your safety and you need to take it seriously. Even the small things, helmet, hood, and mask, very, very important. And a lot of guys will ask me, well, what about cleaning our turnout gear? Extractors, secondary company, how do we go about that? Guys, here's the thing. I don't care how you clean it, just clean it. If your best action is warm water and mild detergent, then that's what you do. You are never going to get all the carcinogens out of your gear. Whether it's an extractor, whether you have an independent company that does it for you, they still don't get it 100% clean. All we're trying to do is minimize our exposures. So I don't care how you clean it, just clean it. Number 7 on our list is dealing with what we do once we leave the firehouse. Guys, this is very important. We don't think about this, but we are actually carrying these contaminants with us. And a lot of us, we either teach at another site, we work for multiple departments, whether it's full-time, part-time, volunteer, and we're taking this stuff with us. Well, how do we transport it? We throw it right in the back of our pickup, we throw it right in the back seat, we throw it in the trunk, and we head down the road. Can't do this anymore. Think about it. The same vehicle that you're transporting your gear in is the same vehicle you transport your loved ones in. And the last thing we want to do is affect them with the same exposures that potentially are affecting us. That's not how we want to go about our business. Our families are the most important things to us. We need to make sure that we're taking the best care of them. The big thing that SKNLUV likes to push out is buying a container to carry your gear in. We know it's inevitable that we're going to need it. So what you're looking for is hermetically sealed, food grade, or airtight, watertight. You can find these containers anywhere online, and a 40-gallon container that will fit all of your fire gear will usually run about $40. I know it's an expenditure, but this is an expenditure that's going to keep you safe as well as your family. It's definitely worthwhile. Number 8 is deconning the interior of the fire apparatus. We talked about this. No fireman should ever show up to work and start out his day with an exposure report. It's not good, and we've been doing it for way too long. Make sure that you take the same pride inside your truck as you do outside your truck. Number 9 on the list, this is something we've been doing for years, but I always like to remind guys about this one. No gear, living, or sleeping areas. Guys, for years, we always slept with our boots beside our bunks. I know, it's tradition, it's history, and we're buying ourselves 15 to 30 seconds on a run. We like to get out quick. I'm with you. I was right there with you every single day. But the fact is, it's not worth the exposure. Simple exposures like that over time are what's causing cancer in firemen. The places where we're resting, the places where we're sleeping, and this is the places where we're being exposed. It's an unnecessary exposure, and we're not doing it anymore. Bunker gear stays in the bay with the apparatus, period, point blank. Number 10 is storing of our gear. As you guys know, number 4 on that list of most wanted was diesel exhaust fumes. Well, a lot of us store our gear out in the bays with these trucks, and on our days off, those trucks run in and out, exposing our gear to diesel exhaust fumes by mass amounts. And then when we come to work, we throw the gear right on and our body begins absorbing the soot that's all over our gear. We don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to go fight our department for a filtrated turnout room. Those same containers that you would use to travel with your gear are the same containers you can now store your gear in. 1 expenditure, 2 fixes. That way you know when you come into work ready to protect your city, ready to protect yourself, you're putting on clean gear. It's a great expenditure, and as I would say, I highly recommend it. Number 11 and 12 are both legislative things, legislative issues, as we like to call them. As you guys will know, here in the state of Ohio, I am currently fighting for cancer legislation for all firefighters, volunteer all the way to professional. And it's called Senate Bill 27. But one of the hardest things that we have to do is prove that we got cancer from our service as a firefighter. Well, skin cancer is the leading cancer among firemen. And one of the things we don't do often enough, but we need to do, is wear our sunscreen or our sun lotion. Guys, we train outside, we work outside. Whether it's hydrants, hose, running drills with the trucks, throwing ladders. On our days off, most of us either are cutting grass, trimming trees, spending time with the family. We put our skin through the ringer. We expose ourselves more than the average human being. And that's just as a result of our culture and who we are. We enjoy the outdoors. But I stress to you, take the time to spray yourself down. Whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're at play. Give your skin a break. It'll be worth it. And lastly on our list, guys, number 12, tobacco. Tobacco has been a topic in the fire service for many years now, and its links to cancer are limitless. And guys, I'm here to tell you, I'm not the one to preach this one, but I am here to tell you this. As we battle for cancer presumption law, tobacco is the number one thing the legislators will use against us. And as a result, almost every cancer presumption law that's already set in place has the tobacco clause. And it states that if you've used tobacco products within 5 years of your diagnosis, they have the right to deny your claim. Guys, this is only a hurdle. I'm not saying you can't win your claim, but it is a hurdle you'd have to pass. The thing is, at the end of the day, you're going to be a healthier fireman for it, and you're going to be around a lot longer for your family without it. Something to keep in mind. Now, as I conclude, I like to go over a few quick tidbits that I feel are very important to me. And the one thing I like to express to you is that the International Agency of Research of Cancer, the guys who do all the smoke studies, they put out a very important fact. And they tell us that there are 9 group 1 carcinogens in all fire smoke. Guys, that is 9 cancer-causing agents in all fire smoke. Not just sometimes, not just maybes, but all the time. Whether it's big, little, or huge, fire smoke is deadly. I don't care if it's a car fire, out fire, or dumpster fire. You need to take this seriously. Over my time of teaching this class, I created the 3 R's, and it's my attempt to help me remember what I need to do when I'm exposed to fire smoke. Number 1 is recognize. Recognize the environment you're about to work in. When you roll up on the scene and you see the fire smoke and you're going through the practice in your mind of how you're going to implement and the attack you're going to put out there, recognize the environment. Recognize the carcinogens. Simply go do your job. Remember, we said we're not going to change the way you fight fire. I'm not going to do it. But I need you to recognize the situation before you do. After you're done, the fire's out, everything's loaded up, remember that environment. Remember what you just put your body through. Remember how your body was reacting. And remember that this could kill you. And lastly, react. When you get back to the firehouse, go through your gear, go through the truck. Make sure that you are ready for the next run by performing the personal decon. Take that shower. Take that 5 to 10 minutes to guarantee that you'll have a long and healthy career. Recognize, remember, and react. This is your way of beating cancer.